Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday, and what a lovely Monday morning it is. I hope wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world, you are having a very good start to your week. And you certainly should be after what we all saw yesterday at the Emirates in North London. Arsenal 3, Liverpool 1. What a huge, huge win that was for Arsenal. Very difficult to sort of play down the significance of a victory like that and a performance like that, I would say. So there is plenty to get stuck into in today's show. I did do my sort of instant match reaction and player ratings from the Emirates yesterday. I'll go over my ratings again. Have made a couple of little tweaks to them, having come back and watched the game again and studied it a little bit more in depth. Always difficult to do that when you're in the stands and you're jumping around in the intensity like it was yesterday. So plenty to discuss. Got some of you guys getting involved as well. You wanted to share your opinions on what you saw. So got some of that sort of stuff to discuss at the end of the show. Plenty to get stuck into. So let's get going, shall I mean, it was just a brilliant, brilliant day. It really was. You went into it. You knew how big a game this was for Arsenal. They basically had no room for error. It was, as I said yesterday before the game, it was very, very close to being must win. It was certainly not a must not lose game, but it was very, very close. You felt it was very, very close to being a must win game, given they were 5 points behind Liverpool already. But not just Liverpool, you've got to factor Manchester City into the equation as well. And had Arsenal lost yesterday and been 8 points behind Liverpool, but also 6 points behind, potentially 6 points behind Manchester City, with City still to have a game in hand and Arsenal having to go to the Etihad, that would have just felt too much for them to make up. So they had to avoid defeat. They really did need to win, in all honesty. And they did in fantastic style. Absolutely deserved that victory yesterday. It was one of the best, if not the best, performance of the season against a team who arrived having only lost one game in the league all season, top of the table, full of confidence, full of momentum. And it was just a game that perfectly demonstrated how good this Arsenal team are. And I think it is easy to forget how good this Arsenal team are. And obviously those two defeats over the Christmas period to West Ham and Fulham left a sour taste, and I think it changed a lot of people's opinions on how the season was going. But you look at how Arsenal are performing, and you look at how they performed yesterday. You go back to how they played against Manchester City. They are a very, very good team. They are incredibly difficult to beat, and they will score goals. And they scored the goals yesterday, and they got the win that they deserved. And there was a lot to like about the performance, especially given the pressure they were under going into that. They knew what was on the line. They knew, they just knew they could not afford to lose that game. And sometimes when you're under that sort of pressure and you know what's at stake, it can be difficult to deal with. But there was no real sign of them struggling to deal with that pressure. And they just played very, very well. I thought Mikel Arteta's team selection was spot on. It was what I was expecting, apart from obviously the injury to Gabriel Jesus, which changed things. With Kai Havertz had to play up front. But aside from that, it was kind of what I was expecting from Arteta. I thought that Jorginho was going to have to play. Felt like a game for him. Thought he might play more as a 2 alongside Declan Rice, which is what we saw in the FA Cup. He did that again, and obviously it paid off. And I'll speak about Jorginho a little bit later on in the show. But Arsenal just on it from the start. They was so intense in that first half, just like they were in the FA Cup game. But this time they got the goal, and that was crucial. Bukayo Saka obviously scoring. Brilliant move by Arsenal. Havertz going through. Not the best of finishes from Kai Havertz. Keeper save, but Saka was there to score, and 1-0, and it was absolutely what Arsenal deserved at that point. And they played so well in the first half, but then obviously conceded the goal right on half-time, which was just incredibly, incredibly frustrating. After all of that hard work, after putting in a performance like that, to go and concede a goal in the manner that Arsenal did. I just stood there at half-time next to my dad for 15 minutes, just like, I cannot believe we've done that. It was the most Arsenal goal to concede after producing such an expert performance against the Liverpool team. A catalogue of errors going in. I'm not going to sit here right now and dissect that goal a lot. I felt after the Nottingham Forest game on Tuesday night, we spent so much time talking about the goal Arsenal conceded. Seemed to be all the focus was on who was at fault, what was going on, why did Arsenal concede a goal, rather than actually enjoying a win. It was just all about the goal that they conceded. And you can look at what went on in that game. Was it David Raya's fault? Was it William Saliba's fault? My view on it was Saliba should have dealt with it more. He was the person in control of that situation. He should have cleared it. Yes, Raya probably could have come out for it, but Saliba was looking at him. He could see he wasn't coming, so you just clear it at any point in the game. Certainly with just a few seconds and a half remaining, you're the defender. You've got the ball at your feet. You take charge of that situation. In my view, but look, I thought Saliba was brilliant. I thought David Raya was brilliant, and I'm not going to sit here and criticise any of them. I don't care. I really don't after a win like that. So I'm not going to do it. It was just a disappointing goal to concede, and you thought. And what was frustrating at that point for me, I was sitting there talking to my dad, and it was like you just knew what the changing rooms were going to be like at half time. Having Arsenal been so good, dominated so much, played so well, to go in at 1-1 after conceding such a sloppy goal. You could just imagine what their changing room was like, how down they were. And then you imagine what was going on in the Liverpool changing room, who knew they got away with one. And they knew they'd been completely outplayed, and yet they went in on level terms. They would have been absolutely buzzing. And you just felt that Liverpool were going to come out buoyant at the start of the second half. And it's exactly what happened. It was their best period of the game. That sort of 10-minute spell, they had a couple of chances, a couple of shots that went just wide. And you're sort of watching that unfold like, oh no, here we go. But I thought Arsenal really deserved credit for the way they fought their way back into control of that game in the second half. And they dealt with such a real body blow of the goal that they conceded, the way they dealt with it and got themselves back on top and went on to win the game. I think they deserve an awful lot of credit for that. It was obviously a bit of luck with Martinelli's goal. Well, that's why when I talk about Arsenal's goal and the goal Arsenal conceded, yes, you can, pour over it as much as you want, decide, who was at fault. But miscommunication happens in football at any level. It happens. It happened then, and it happened with two of the very, very best in the business, in Van Dijk and Alisson, for Martinelli's goal. So it can happen. It's always happened, and it will continue to happen. And Martinelli, fair play to him. That's what you get for chasing what looks like a lost ball. Keep putting the pressure on, keep running. Martinelli did that all game. He did not stop working, and he got his rewards in that moment. Obviously, a catastrophic error from the two, awful miscommunication between the goalkeeper and the centre back, but Martinelli was there to finish. And I see the noise in the stadium when that went in, and I thought Arsenal saw that game out really well from that point. They played professionally. They had a real sort of, it was a seniority, I thought, the way they played and they saw that game out. It just really, really impressed me. There was no panic. You thought, Liverpool were going to throw everything at Arsenal in this situation, but it never felt like that. Arsenal kept them at arm's length the whole way, and then they went on and got the third goal through Trossard again, with a really great cameo from Trossard coming off the bench. It was a brilliant goal. Lovely little run down the left. Yes, again, he got a slice of fortune with the goal, with the finish going through the keeper's legs after the slight touch from Van Dijk. But he earned that luck himself, the way he worked down that left-hand side to open up the opportunity. And yeah, it was just brilliant scenes when that goal went in. The noise level, the celebrations. It was just a fantastic, fantastic moment. And it just allowed you to see those final few minutes out of stoppage time not having to be nervy. And that was a really nice feeling to have in the stands, being able to actually know that the game was done and dusted, and not having to survive any late set pieces where they could have forced an equaliser or anything like that. And you look at the stats. I mean, this is from, again, Scott Willis from CanetStats.com has put them together. There is stats doing around where Arsenal had an XG of about 3.5, but I don't think that's correct, because one of the chances in that game was Havertz in the first half, but he was clearly offside. The flag went up and he had the volley, and Alisson saved it, and that counted towards a lot of the XG stats that you saw at the end of the game, but it really shouldn't have done, because he was offside and the flag went up, so it shouldn't have counted. And Scott's stats here, the way he's done it, he's taken that chance off for Kai Havertz. So the expected goals were 2.3 to Arsenal and 0.5 to Liverpool. I think it was the lowest XG Liverpool have had in sight almost since record began in the Premier League. And that's when I talk about at the start how good this Arsenal team are, how difficult they are to play against. They did that with Manchester City in the home game. They've done it against Liverpool now. And if they just stop doing stupid things and conceding stupid goals, they're defensively, they're such a fantastic side, and yet they still manage to find ways to concede in silly goals, which is a bit frustrating. But it was just a really top quality performance at both ends of the pitch. It's exactly what Arsenal needed. And yeah, they got the job done. And as you can imagine, Mikel Arteta was absolutely delighted with what he saw from his team. And so he should be, because it was top performance. And I thought Arteta deserves a lot of credit. He got that team selection right. He got the system right. And he got a performance out of his team that he would have worked very, very hard. Him and his coaching staff would have worked very, very hard on in the build-up to the game, and they all delivered. And this is what he had to say after the match. It was an extraordinary game. I think it was an incredible performance from the players and our people. The atmosphere that we generated in the stadium is the best I've seen this season. We demanded that. We had to go to a different level and connect it again to the demands that this league has in every game. And they have responded in an unbelievable way. And I think the players left absolutely everything. They put their heart and soul into every ball. And I cannot be any prouder because I know how difficult it is to beat this team, how much you have to suffer, all the preparation, and how much they have to process to try and do what we did on the pitch. So a big thank you. Arteta absolutely delighted. And as I said, he should well be. And he talked about the atmosphere there. And there's been lots of talk about the Emirates atmosphere in recent weeks. And it has been a bit flat at times in the last couple of months. But yesterday was it was so loud. The crowd were on it from the start. Arteta had called for it before the match. And the fans delivered. It was an absolutely electric atmosphere. It was so loud in there. And just thoroughly enjoyable thing to experience. And I can imagine that Mikel Arteta would be he was. You could see afterwards the way he was talking. He was very, very proud of what the players delivered. And like he said, it's very hard to beat Liverpool. And Arsenal now taken 4 points from Liverpool in the league. They've beaten Manchester City in the league. They've beaten Manchester United at home in the league. They're doing it in the big games this season. Again, it's just frustrating. You keep going back to those defeats against West Ham and Fulham, and where Arsenal would be now if they hadn't have suddenly sort of put those two performances in over the Christmas period. But I mean, it's been and gone now, so you can't there's no point looking back too much, but it is a little bit frustrating. But Arteta absolutely delighted, and so he should be. I talked about, Arteta getting it right, and I felt this was always going to be a game for Jorginho. I thought Jorginho and Rice would play together in that sort of more as a pairing like they did. And they were just so good. I mean, Jorginho, I don't understand how Jorginho honestly has really any critics amongst the Arsenal fan base. I know football's an opinion-based thing and everyone has opinions, but he's just been a fantastic signing. He really has. He's barely put a foot wrong since he's come into the team. I think he made the mistake against Tottenham earlier in the season, but it happens to absolutely everyone. It happens to the very best players in the world. You'll get caught in possession at some point and it will lead to goal. But he's just been so good since he's arrived. And he's just a big game player as well. He was exceptional yesterday, Jorginho. An absolutely top level performance. Mikel Arteta saying he's been playing with an injury as well for a long time as well, which makes his performances even more impressive. This is what Arteta said after the game about Jorginho. He said, "It's a game I had in my mind to imagine him to play, and because of how much we were going to need him. It's a team that doesn't really allow you to put the fifth player in that front line with the way they play. And Georgie's a really intelligent player. His biggest quality is he makes the people around him better. He connects everybody, and he was unbelievable. I think he was man of the match. I've always said that he's an example, a role model. He's been in a lot of pain as well because he has an issue that he's been carrying for months. He didn't want to stop. He's been playing with that. He's been training as the first one in and the last one out. And for all the kids, for everybody at the club, you want to look in the mirror at somebody, just look at him and how he behaves. He's won everything. And if you ask him not to play or to play 1 minute like last week, he's happy to go there. You ask him to play 98 minutes at the rhythm and he's able to do that. So I'm really lucky to have players like this. I just think he's been a brilliant signing, Jorginho. Absolutely, like Mikel says, a role model. He's a coach, basically. When he's not playing, he's coaching the players. Just money well spent. And I would 100% extend that contract, take the option up, have him for another year. I think it'd be really disappointing if he goes at the end of the season because he's clearly still got so much to give. Doesn't have to be a starter every game, of course. And he's not a starter in every game, but when he does come on and when he does play in these big games and he produces those sort of performances that he did yesterday, alongside Declan Rice as well, who I thought was equally as good. I did give Jorginho my man of the match, but I gave both him and Rice 9 out of 10. Rice's performance levels have dipped a little bit in recent weeks, not to any sort of poor standard, but just maybe dipped a little bit below that exceptional standard that basically he has produced since the moment he walked into the club in the summer. But he was back to his very, very best. Absolutely. Those two, they dominated that midfield. And that's where Arsenal won the game, in my opinion. It was those two. Fantastic performance from the pair of them. And for Jorginho, just another huge game. Little bit of an injury worry, of course, for the match. Like I said, Jesus missing out yesterday. Was with the team, did go to the hotel. It made me laugh that there were rumours circulating in the morning that he was out. And then the video appeared of the team going for their pre-match walk before the game at the team hotel. And Jesus was there. And it's just me being very cynical, I think. But I would not be at all surprised if Mikel Arteta was well aware that the rumours were already out on social media that Jesus wasn't going to play. And so he said to him, right, you go out and walk with the team just to um, maybe throw Liverpool off guard a little bit and create a little bit of doubt in their mind as to whether he was going to play or not. Because they wouldn't. That is something absolutely that Mikel Arteta would do. And I wouldn't surprise me if that is what happened. So he was out. Obviously, Mikel saying it's just hopefully a few days with him. This knee injury that he's continuing to suffer with. Zinchenko went off at half time, felt something in his calf again, which was a shame. I thought Zinchenko was playing really well in the first half, although Trent was finding a little bit of space at times over on the right hand side. That was always going to happen, but I thought Zinchenko had a decent first half and was shaping up to have a good performance. So that was a shame. Fingers crossed it's not too bad. Saka limped off in the second half, took a knock on the ankle. Mikel saying he should be fine. I think he got a kick, I think, on the ankle or the back of his foot, but he should be fine. I didn't think it was Saka's best game at all yesterday. I thought he struggled to really make an impact. Obviously got the crucial first goal, but he didn't have the best of performances. I didn't think Saka. No, he wasn't terrible by any means, but I thought he struggled a little bit in that game. One of the few Arsenal players who really did. But fingers crossed, they're all going to be okay. The good thing is if Zinchenko is out for any sort of period of time now with his calf injury, the good news is Tomiyasu should be available for the game against West Ham, having now obviously come back from the Asian Cup after Japan were knocked out. I'm not going to spend much time talking about this. I'm barely going to talk about it. In fact, I'm actually going on BBC 5 Live very soon. In fact, they want me on to talk about Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher's comments and basically the criticism of Arsenal celebrating yesterday's win. I think it's utterly, utterly pathetic. I really do. I don't think I put a tweet out yesterday. I think it's such gutter punditry to even make that a talking point after a win like that. To spend time talking about how players celebrate on the pitch or how a manager celebrates a goal, I think it's so pathetic. And as I say, gutter punditry. It's just chasing engagement. It's all it is. How can that be a talking point after a performance and a game like that of such magnitude? Arsenal lose that game, they're out of the title race. It meant absolutely everything. And so they were allowed to celebrate for about 2.5 minutes on the pitch after the game. It's not like they were out there for 20 minutes or doing anything. They were on the pitch for about 2.5 minutes after the game celebrating. Martin Odegaard picked up a camera and celebrated by taking photos of Stuart, who the players all absolutely love, who's a massive Arsenal fan, who is, lives and breathes Arsenal. He's been the photographer for 30 odd years. Just go and watch Ian Wright's clip that he posted on social media yesterday. And it's just spot on. It's perfect. And honestly, for Neville, for Carragher, for all of those who think that it just shows the level of punditry that we got in this country now, that is a talking point after a game like that, rather than actually analysing the match properly, looking at what was good, looking at what was bad, looking at the players, looking at the game state, looking at some of the moves that led to the goal. Instead, you spend 5, 10, whatever minutes talking about how you celebrate a goal, and then you clip it up and you put it all over social media because you know it's going to generate engagement. It's embarrassing. It really, really is. And yeah, it's all I can say. Gutter punditry. It's all I can say about it. I really, really do. Okay, player ratings wise, before I move on to get some of your reaction to the game, like I said, I tweaked these a little bit from yesterday's immediate post-match reaction, having gone back and watched the game and looked at it a little bit more in depth. David Raya, I thought was exceptional. Whatever you say about the goal, whose fault it was, his, Saliba's, whatever, I thought he was brilliant, David Raya. I thought he claimed every cross that came in. He saved pretty much every shot that came his way. Not that they were too hard. His distribution was just exceptional throughout. I thought it was a really top-level performance from David Raya, and I gave him an 8. I thought Ben White was excellent down the right-hand side. I gave him an 8. Saliba as well, although I think the goal was certainly a large part of the goal was down to him. I thought he was brilliant, and I'm not going to sit here and hammer him for that goal that Arsenal conceded. Just like David Raya, I thought they both were brilliant. And so I gave Saliba an 8. Gabriel was an 8. Zinchenko, I gave a 6. I think I could have easily given Zinchenko a 7. Just the fact he played for 45 minutes, I've given him a 6. But I think that's quite right for people to potentially think he should at least have had a 7, because I thought he did a lot of good things in that Arsenal performance in the first half, and he was key to the first goal as well. So he could have got a 7, but I've just given him a 6 because he played for 45 minutes. Declan Rice and Jorginho, both 9 out of 10 for me. Jorginho was my man of the match, just shaded it over Rice, but both of them were exceptional. Gabby, I've knocked out. I think I might have given Gabby a 7 yesterday. I put him up to an 8. Just tireless performance. That run was so electrifying in the first half down the left. I don't know how Saka didn't head that in. It's such a shame he didn't head that, because it would have been such a brilliant goal. It was just electrifying. Just head down and run. That's what you want from your winger. And I always thought this was going to be a decent game for Martinelli because there was going to be a lot of space to attack, and there was, and he did it really well. And he loves playing against Liverpool. And so, yeah, I've knocked him up to an 8. Saka, I gave a 7. Odegaard, I gave a 7. Havertz, I thought it was a brilliant performance from Havertz. I really did. Yes, he should have scored when he went through. I never had any confidence he was going to score. His finishing clearly is not the best, but given he came into that game relatively late, they would have, the whole week would have been done with Gabriel Jesus playing as a central striker. Then suddenly, because of a late injury, Havertz goes in. He gave Konate and Van Dijk a torrid time throughout. They knew they were in the game. He just did not stop working. He was a pest. He just kept going. He got Konate sent off with that. And yeah, I just thought he played really, really well, Kai Havertz. I really enjoyed that performance from him. I wish he'd scored when he went through one-on-one. I think his performance warranted a goal. Like I said, I just never had any confidence he was going to score it on his right foot, though, I have to say. But yeah, I thought he played really well. I think he deserves an awful lot of credit. Substitutions who came on, I haven't got them listed there, but Kivior, a brilliant performance from Kivior at left back. Should have scored. Would have been a brilliant goal as well had he put that header any sort of either side of Alisson. But excellent performance from Kivior. So I gave him an 8 as well. Trossard, just brilliant from Trossard. Did exactly what Mikel Arteta would have asked for him when he came on. And deserves a lot of credit. I'll give him an 8 as well for his goal. So they're my player ratings from the game. I hope you all agree with them. Sure, you probably won't because no one ever does when it comes to player ratings, but that's what I've given all the Arsenal players. Okay, now moving on to some of your questions and comments before I wrap this up today. Tarika there says, exceptional performance. So proud of the boys. Dominated the informed team in Europe. Happy Monday, Gooners. Sea Lord says, we didn't make any signings this January, but I think the performances of Kivior, Trossard, and in particular Jorginho showed just how good our January window was a year ago. Yeah, 100%. I think it was a very good window for Arsenal. Matt says, match reaction. Hi, Charles. I hope the voice is a bit better this morning. I hope it is. It is still very, very croaky, but I hope it's not too annoying to listen to. It says, I thought Jorginho was absolutely immense these games. It's games like these that Jorginho really shows his worth and what he brings to the squad. The experience, the poise and the calm that he brought to one of the most intense games in the calendar was just second to none. We seem to be crippled with injuries to key players for big games, but I thought Jorginho was so, so good. Agree 100%. Matt, thank you very much for getting in touch. Here's one from RSN5 says, thanks Arsenal for spreading the joy during my COVID recovery. That is a huge victory against a very good team. Incredible performance by the Gunners. Hope you're feeling, you're not too bad there, RSN5, if you're recovering from COVID. Hope, like you said, much needed boost for you. Hopefully gives you a sort of shot of energy in the arm as you continue your recovery. Agri1032 says Martinelli really loves playing against Liverpool. He does, doesn't he? I think it's 5 goals now for Martinelli against Liverpool. That's more than any other team he's scored against since arriving in England. That's what you want from your players, scoring the big games. Martinelli's doing that against big teams. Jurgen Klopp once called him the talent of the century, didn't he? Must hate seeing him every single time turning up against Liverpool. Gordon says, thanks, Charles. Great result. Definitely a man of match performance from Jorginho. Just so calm in the middle of the park. Loved watching Martinelli put the burners on and drive past Konate in the first half. Another big challenge next week. Our most recent bogey team, West Ham. Yeah, 100%. I was talking about this after the game yesterday on the way home with a friend of mine who I met at the Paddington station, actually. On the way home, we were talking about it and saying, it's so important Arsenal go and back this victory up now by winning at West Ham next week. Arsenal played West Ham twice this season. They've lost both games, one in the League Cup, one at the Emirates, obviously in the league. They need to respond to that this week. It'd be awful if you go and win this game against Liverpool, get your momentum, and then go and throw it away against West Ham next week. It's a really huge game, as big as last week, as big as yesterday was against Liverpool. This coming weekend against West Ham is even bigger now, in my opinion, because you have to back this win up. You cannot let it go to waste. You have to go to West Ham, win that game, and continue this momentum that you've got from a performance and a victory like the one we saw yesterday. All right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for watching or listening. As always, I really do appreciate it. Have a great Monday. You should do after a win like that. If you can't enjoy a Monday after a win like that, then when you're ever going to enjoy a Monday? I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. You want me to discuss anything, any comments, opinions, questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll pull them together as always and get some of them included in tomorrow's show. Until then, everyone, have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.